Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mustardcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Before we start, I wanted to remind everyone to like, comment, and subscribe to our video, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget
Standard YouTuber things.
You said what?
Standard YouTuber things.
Yeah, standard YouTuber things. And don't forget to hit the bell so you can turn on post notifications so you get notified every time we post a video. Why are you laughing? Come on, man.
This is literally standard YouTuber thing.
It is.
This is every YouTuber ever. This is hilarious.
Next week, throughout the week, we'll be posting clips from this podcast. So if you start watching this podcast and you can't make it through the podcast because it's so long, you can watch it in chunks throughout the week. All of the clips from last week are up right now, so you can go back and watch every clip from episode 3. Okay, so one more thing. Early voting has started here in Maryland and in most other places. And November 3rd is the official election day, so make sure you guys vote. I literally just voted a few hours ago. I went and dropped my
voting sometime this week.
Dropbox, and the mayor's going to vote sometime this week, so make sure you guys get that done. And with that, on to the episode. So, what media have you been consuming here?
You didn't introduce us to John.
I keep forgetting that. I'm probably leave this.
Yeah, no, this is the.
Because I always
forgot yesterday. You forgot to.
Because every time I have because I don't always want to have stuff to say immediately after the intro. But if I do, I usually end up forgetting to introduce us. I'm Dijon.
I'm over here.
And this is the 4th episode of the Mustardcast. So what media do you think is in it?
I guess the same as when we tried to record yesterday. Lovecraft Country. Star Wars Squadrons, Need for Speed Payback. I know there's like one more thing.
Minecraft.
I don't really count Minecraft though. I don't count Minecraft. I've been consuming Minecraft since like 2010. Like I don't count that anymore.
But I said recently, and recently you've been playing Minecraft, trying to make Wayne.
Yes, that is true. Recently I have been playing Minecraft. There was one more thing. Oh, I've been reading Green Lantern Sinestro Corps War, the comic. It's really good. If you like Green Lantern, must read.
Yeah, I'm hoping Green Lantern show is going to be good.
I hope it's going to be good. I'm just a little peeved that instead of focusing on Kyle Rayner or Hal Jordan or Jon Stewart, they're focusing on Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz and Alan Scott for some reason, despite the fact that he has nothing to do with the Corps. Yeah, but I mean, like, I like those characters, but like,
so it makes sense for him to be in there, even though he's not part of the Corps. But I think the reason they're doing that is because specifically the 3 most popular ones that we all know, Kyle Rayner, Hal Jordan, and Jon Stewart, they're probably going to be in the Green Lantern movie, and they're saving them for the movie rather than the TV show, and that's why they're going to give.
That's what I was hearing.
Yeah, I'm thinking the TV show is going to be for the, the more recent and the lesser known. Well, Alan Scott's literally the oldest one, but other than him, the more recent ones.
And Guy Gardner. Guy Gardner's in the show too.
Yeah, Guy Gardner's in there too. While the movie is going to be the show is. Wait, no, I just forgot what I said. The movie's going to be about the 3 popular ones. The show's going to be about the newer ones and the lesser known ones.
I still would much prefer to have more screen time over the TV show. I don't know. I just my favorite those are 3 of my favorite DC characters, and it's just I don't know. I like all Green Lanterns except for Guy Gardner. So I mean, I'll be fine with it regardless. But
Green Lanterns as well. Green Lantern is cool, and I really hate how much of a bad rap that movie gave him. He's really such a cool character, and now people who don't read the comics or haven't watched that cartoon they just think he's a horrible character when he's not. That movie was just bad.
Right, the movie was really bad. But
yeah, so what I've been consuming, I watched Halloween 1970 first one, and Alien and The Invisible Man. The Invisible Man that came out earlier this year, and the first Alien that came out in 79, I believe. I'm gonna talk more about those later. So I'm gonna get into 2 manga I've been reading, Kaiju number 8 and Chainsaw Man. And Meter thinks Chainsaw Man is ridiculous, and it is. And I do. I actually finished. I didn't finish it because it's not the actual story isn't finished. But I've caught up. I'm caught up all the way with the manga. At chapter 90, And it is, bro. It's really good. It's like surprisingly good. I didn't expect it to be as good as it is. And it's insane. It's basically about Chainsaw Man is about a man who fused with a chainsaw, a dog that basically has a chainsaw face. And the dog with the chainsaw face is a devil, and he's called the Chainsaw Devil. And he fused with it and became Chainsaw Man. And he works for like an organization that hunts down devils. But he's just like a special type of devil who's a human that could transform into a devil, whereas other devils are just purely like demons or whatever. Essentially, in this world, words are given form through fear. Like, for example, there's the biggest the big bad that you learn about at the beginning of the series is the gun devil, because people are like afraid of guns. So people's fear of guns created this super powerful devil that goes around killing a bunch of people.
I'm never gonna stop laughing at this.
It's hilarious. It really is.
Dumbest thing I've ever.
It's fantastic. I'm telling you. Once it gets animated, which I'm sure it will because it's really good, I can't wait. It's going to be super bloody, as you can imagine. A manga about a person with chainsaws on his hands and his face is going to be pretty bloody. The second one I was reading, is Kaiju number 8, which is basically about, it's a world where kaijus, giant monsters like Godzilla exist. And they attack everywhere across the world, but they more frequently attack Japan, which is the origin of kaijus in terms of fiction. And what was I about to say? The main character is a 32-year-old man, which for most manga and anime is kind of weird because they're almost always teenagers, or even younger than that sometimes. So that was new for me. And when I read when he said that he was 32 years old, I was completely surprised because I wasn't expecting it. They're usually much younger. But essentially, he, much like Chainsaw Man, fuses with a monster, and he basically becomes part kaiju. And
every time you say Chainsaw Man, I just laugh.
He manages to hide his like kaiju transformation and joins a corporation that fight against kaiju. Both of these manga are similar in a lot of ways. I like Chainsaw Man a lot more though. Chainsaw Man's so good.
Why am I not surprised?
Chainsaw Man is so good. It's so ridiculous, but it's amazing. Move it on into current events. Halloween is what, Saturday?
Yes. Oh God, I got to finish my Halloween costume. Where is it?
Yeah, Halloween is Saturday. So I wanted to talk about horror, and specifically, we're gonna start off talking about Black horror. So, from my experience as a Black person watching horror movies, which I grew up watching horror movies with my grandmother. My grandmother, my grandmother, my twin younger brothers, and my little sister watched horror movies with my grandmother all the time. And when she passed away, we like inherited, I guess is the best way to put it, her like huge collection of horror movies that she has. She just has a gigantic collection of horror movies on DVD that we used to watch all the time. And because of that, I like horror movies. I don't watch them that much because if it doesn't really interest me, I don't want to watch it. That's how I feel about most things. If it doesn't interest me, I don't want to watch it. And most horror movies lately have not been interesting me, so I just don't watch them. The last one I watched in terms of, well, I mentioned it earlier actually, The Invisible Man is probably the most recent one to come out that I watched. Before that, it was Halloween, the one that came out in 2018. I watched it in 2019 though. Halloween, like Michael Myers is my favorite like horror movie monster or killer or whatever you want to call him, because he was the first Halloween, the reboot that came out in 2007 was the first Halloween movie I saw, and it was much more violent and like gory than the original 1978 movie, and it horrified me as a little kid. And I was afraid of Michael Myers for years. And it wasn't until like a good few years ago that I finally got over that fear. I used to be terrified of Michael Myers. And I love those movies. The 1978 one, it, like most horror movies, especially older ones, it starts off slow because first 30 minutes of most horror movies is introducing you to the characters that are about to be murdered. And because Halloween was literally one of the first slashers ever, it came out before the first two Friday the 13th. he was pretty much the originator of slashers, Michael Myers. All of the characters are the stereotypes, the horny jock and like cheerleader, and then the dorky person and the babysitter and things like that. That's basically the characters they introduced, but they're all boring. None of them are interesting whatsoever. The character, I'm going to spoil the first movie. If you haven't seen it, you could watch it. I watched it on Vudu. It might be on YouTube as well to buy. I'm not sure. But I watched it on Vudu. I think I watched it on Vudu because it wasn't available on YouTube to buy, actually. But I suggest if you're going to watch Halloween, watch the first one, 1978, and then watch Halloween 2018, which is basically kind of retcons 6 Halloween movies that came out after the first, no, 5. 5
everything. It retcons everything.
It retcons the 5 Halloween movies that came out after the first Halloween that came out in 78, as well as the 2 other ones that were also supposed to be a reboot and retcon of those movies. There was basically what they did was Halloween H2O, which it stands for Halloween 20 years. It came out in 98, so exactly 20 years after the first film. And it takes place 20 years later, and it was meant to get rid of, basically pretend like Halloween 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 never happened. And it started over from H2O. But then the movie that came out after H2O, Resurrection, sucked. So they rebooted it again from the very beginning with the Rob Zombie remake, the ones that I first saw that made me scared of Mike Myers. But then those, they weren't that bad. They just weren't that good either. They were okay. They were pretty mediocre. And they were basically just became like pretty much a lot of those. What's called Wrong Turn? Those movies where people basically just murdered. It basically became something like that, where it was just a gore fest. And it was just Michael Myers brutally murdering a bunch of people. It wasn't interesting at all. It was just gory and violent for violence sake. So in 2018, they rebooted again. Supposedly the last time, I doubt it. And it was really good. It takes place.
You're the only person I've ever heard that say that movie was good. The only person I've heard that said that 2018 movie was good. No, everybody else has said it was garbage.
People love the 2018 one. The 2018 is so freaking good, bro.
I've heard nothing but horrible things.
I don't know who you've been listening to, but people love that movie. It basically takes everything about the first movie and makes it better. Because I like the first movie. It's one of my favorite horror movies. But like I said, a lot of the characters are boring. But all the characters in this one are interesting. Especially a character, because like I said, I'm going to spoil the original. I said we were going to talk about black horror movies, and then I started talking about one of the whitest horror movies ever. But Laurie Strode, basically, of course, is still a main character. And she is way more interesting in this movie than she was in the first one, which in the first one, she was just a regular babysitter, nerdy chick who was babysitting some kids when a student came to murder her. In the second movie, she has been basically preparing to fight back against Michael if he ever comes after her again for like 40 years. And because of that, I think she had like 5 husbands. All of them left her. Her daughter hates her for the way that she grew up. And her granddaughter is trying to get close to her, but her mother doesn't want her to. And that dynamic between the characters, on top of Michael having some dope kills, and none of them they're bloody, but they aren't like grotesque. Like they aren't just bloody for blood's sake. They're actually creative and they look cool. And that's what I like in horror movies. I like for the kills to be creative and look cool, as insane as that sounds.
That sounds rather.
I mean, we're talking about horror movies, and I'm talking about slasher. I'm talking about a slasher specifically, which is my favorite type of horror movie. But yeah, those are 2 of my favorite horror movies. I'll talk about Aliens later because, like I said, we were supposed to talk about black horror movies, and I went on a tangent about Halloween. But black horror movies. Naturally, we're going to talk about things like Get Out, Us, and Lovecraft Country, of which I watched the 5th episode yesterday. I'm not going to spoil Lovecraft Country. What I will say is we 100% will spoil the first episode of Lovecraft Country. So we're going to spoil the first episode because the first episode sets up a lot of the cool stuff that happens throughout the rest of the series. I haven't finished it. Like I said, I just finished the 5th episode yesterday. So I have 5 episodes left. There's 10 episodes. So from watching those three specific, that series and those two movies, recent Black horror movies that have a majority or focus on Black people tend to focus on basically taking real life Black experiences and fears and making them supernatural, like turning racism into something where a person like in Get Out, again, spoiler alert, just in case you still haven't seen it and you don't want to be spoiled. They basically want to they find Black people's bodies superior, but think that they are idiots in comparison to white people. So they just want the Black people's bodies. So basically that movie is about them trying to take the lead character's body, and they've already done it with a few other Black people. And Us is a weird one. I mean, Get Out.
Us is not a great one.
Yeah, I actually had an argument with somebody about that. Not an argument. We weren't really arguing, a debate. Because I liked it up until the very end. Again, spoiler alert. Like I said, I mentioned we're gonna spoil the first episode of Lovecraft Country, Us, and Get Out, because those are the movies we're gonna focus on. The movies and shows we're gonna focus on. So Us, like you said, I mean, I don't think it's not great. I just think that the ending the ending was really weird, and it was meant to the message they were trying to send was about classism, and the idea was that there's somebody doing worse than you or something like that. I'm having a hard time explaining it because it's been a while. It's actually been a while since I've seen it. I think I only watched it twice.
I didn't watch the whole thing, so.
You didn't even watch the whole thing?
I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did hear like many people basically summarize the movie. And I saw like the first half of the movie. Like I stopped after like the whole explanation for the underground and like everything going on underground. I basically stopped there.
That's where it started to fall apart, where they started to explain the underground, and it was essentially I don't know if it was specifically other people cloning all these people, but it was essentially a clone of like every single person on the planet. And
it wasn't the planet; it was just the United States. Because it was the United States government.
Oh, it was? Okay. Well,
yeah.
You made a bunch of clones of like everybody.
Which makes no sense. But
and the idea, and they basically all started to like hold their hands across the world and try to like make a circle. Which I feel like we aren't the best representation for what that movie stands for. Because right now, I'm blanking on what that movie was about. Because it ended really weird. There was a cool twist at the very, very end that I saw coming. I'm sure most people saw it coming. But it was still an interesting twist, and I liked it. But the reason for those tethered people, as they're called, existing was odd. And like I said, the message was about classism and about basically, it was literally, like I said already, we're gonna spoil it. So the twist at the end was that Lupita Nyong'o's character she had discovered her clone. She discovered her clone, and her clone basically knocked her out and switched lives with her. And basically, they were showing how much better her life was when she lived above ground. And that's what the idea was of how different lives could be depending on circumstances. There we go. I finally managed to explain it. It took me a while. The gears had to turn, but that's basically what Us was about. And most Black horror movies, well, recently have become more of psychological horror movies rather than, your traditional monster, even though, there still tends to be monsters. And Us was partly slasher. They use those monsters and slashers as a delivery system for the message that they're trying to make. That's what I've seen. Do you have a different opinion on how Black horror movies, the trends of Black horror movies have gone?
So far, they all seem to delve deeply into systemic issues. Get Out was very much so race-related. Lovecraft Country is in a way that I won't spoil because if I even begin to talk about it past mentioning it, it kind of like unravels the rest of the show, is very race related. It would not, I would be surprised if more black focused horror movies were not like highly and heavily related to race.
Yeah, because I like it. I like it a lot because I feel like adding that element of racism makes it so much more scary because it's real. It makes it a little bit more real. And once you make something a bit more real for the viewer, it becomes more likely to happen. And that's what makes it scarier. A difference between horror movies targeting, or that, I guess, yeah, target mostly white people versus black people that somebody maybe noticed recently was kind of like slashers and monsters tend to be more of a white horror type of thing, while supernatural things tend to be more, black people tend to be more attracted to that. I've seen that from my family and friends that I have, that they're more attracted to supernatural horror. And I think that has something to do with the very strong kind of like spiritual aspect of the black culture, of people being, you know, Christians or just being spiritual in some type of way. So when anything involving like ghosts or spirits or God or demons or something like that is involved, I feel like that draws black people in more because of their religions and, like I said, spirituality. Whereas something more mundane, like a person going out to kill someone, is more would drawing more white people because they would be more fearful of that. Whereas we are a bit more we are around more, I guess, physical violence. So it's not really as scary, though it is still scary to a lot of people of any race.
Right.
So we're gonna go into the animation portion, and I want to talk about how horror could take advantage of animation. And essentially, animation can make anything. Anything you think of, someone could draw it and make it. And horror could take advantage of that aspect of animation. There aren't many horror animated shows and movies, and there, as far as I know, aren't any good ones. There are some shows that are kind of horror-y, like Tokyo Ghoul, that's good, but that's not really horror. It's more of a drama with a tiny bit of action. But there aren't many really good horror animated series. Junji Ito, a famous horror manga author, he had his he makes short stories, and he had a collection of his short stories animated into an animated series called the Junji Ito Collection, which was underwhelming. I haven't read any of his work. Amir has read one of his miniseries. Yeah, called Uzumaki, and I haven't read any of them. I haven't watched any of them. I just watched a couple videos on it so that I could actually have things to talk about when it comes to Junji Ito, because it intrigues me, but I'm not sure if I'm ever really going to read it. But if they were to make a really good animated series, I would probably watch it. Essentially, the way he goes about making horror is taking something ordinary that you see every day and making it unnerving and creepy, and also not explaining it like at all. Like not giving an explanation as to why this thing exists or how to destroy it. Most oftentimes the story ends with the people losing. Like there is no like final girl like in like slashers where that one girl always escapes. Nope. With Junji Ito, everybody dies almost all the time. And he always keeps it short and sweet. He doesn't drag it on forever. Like I said, they're short stories, so they're either usually a chapter or two, or they're miniseries, so they're like a volume or two. So he makes sure that he just makes it creepy. You don't understand what's going on, like at all. All you know is that it's horrifying and that there's no way out. And apparently it didn't translate. It's not that it didn't translate well to animation, it just wasn't animated by a studio that could truly adapt his work to the screen. And I feel like if someone at a more talented studio, or maybe the studio was really good, I'm not sure what studio it was, they just didn't have enough time. But with more money, time, and talent, they could probably make a really good, like another shorts like collection series based off of his books and his short stories. A really good horror oriented animated series I would like is based off a video game, and that's Metroid. This is gonna bring us into Aliens a bit, because Metroid is heavily inspired by the Alien franchise. Literally, the Samus, the main character of Metroid, her arch nemesis is like a big pterodactyl dragon-looking thing. That actually, he kind of looks like a xenomorph. He has an elongated head and he has a sharp tail. His name is Ridley, which is clearly his name. Basically, he's named after the director of the first Alien movie, Ridley Scott. And also the setting that she goes to pretty much every game, she goes to a spaceship. It's infected by aliens called Metroids, like its title. And they go and they start infecting people and making more Metroids and getting stronger, much like the aliens in the Alien franchise. And then at the end of every game, when she's escaping, she has to blow up the ship and have to escape before the timer goes off, like in all the Alien movies. I'm gonna spoil the first Alien movie, by the way, and the second one. Which the second movie, for people who don't know, is called Aliens. They literally just add an S. The second movie, they just add an S and it's a sequel, rather than like a 2 or something like that. But I think that Metroid would make a fantastic animated series. Specifically, I really like the way, like, I don't know if there's a name for it, but the way old anime looks. Like, that kind of like, it's due to the technology limitations that they look kind of like grainy, and like
yeah, I know what you mean.
And the colors are less saturated. You know what I mean? I like the way that looks. Even though if they had the choice, they probably wouldn't have had it that way. It was just because of the limitations of their technology at the time. Like specifically Cowboy Bebop. Well, the animation in general in Cowboy Bebop is just amazing because they put a lot of hard work into it. But also just that, like I said, that style of older like 80s and 90s anime. I just like the way it looks. And if Metroid was animated like that, I think it could make a really good series. For the most part, it could just be just like Aliens. She goes with a group of people to a ship to hunt these Metroids. The Metroids, end up. I don't want her to start with her suit. Also, I want her to get the suit like halfway through, or like 2/3 of the way through. I don't want her to start with her suit. I want her to start just with a gun and like some armor, just zero suit Samus, and then eventually she gets her suit, and that's what gives her the edge to escape and do what she needs to do, and then run out before the what is it called, the ship explodes. That's how I feel about animation and horror. You've been quiet.
I have been. I don't really have much to say on the topic. I'm also half asleep right now.
I took a nap before this because otherwise I would have been dead tired.
I didn't have the opportunity to take a nap before this, but I also have not had any coffee, so like I'm kind of dead right now. But this is breaking away from horror and leaning more into adaptation, because you started talking about adaptation. So this is perfect for housekeeping, so that it doesn't look like we're behind on this, because just today, so not the day that you're going to see this, I don't know how long it takes you to edit this and post it, but not the day that you're going to see this, but the day that this was recorded, so October 27th, 2020, it was announced that Netflix is doing a live-action adaptation of Assassin's Creed, and they're doing multiple shows after the adaptation of Assassin's Creed in both animation style and anime style. Not sure how that's going to work, but yeah. So, did you just turn on the light? I was very confused for a second. But, so yeah, no, that's a thing. And I'm really excited about that. I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan.
I actually didn't know that. I think that a TV format is the best place for Assassin's Creed, specifically because it's very like episodic in the way that the story's told. And I feel like every season or every 2 seasons could be a new assassin if they decide to do that. If they decide to follow the story exactly, they don't have to. They could honestly focus on like away from the Abstergo part, and you could just go with the Templars and Assassins in the olden days, rather than anything having to do with the what's that machine called? I can't remember.
Animus.
The Animus, yeah. So they could just do without the Animus and Desmond and just go straight into the Assassins and versus the Templars, and with like the first time period with Altair or whichever assassins they choose to use, they could make one up and just do original assassin.
But that's not the only video game adaptation they're doing. Oh, keep in mind, they're also doing an animation adaptation of Assassin's Creed and an anime adaptation of Assassin's Creed. They made sure in the article to separate and differentiate between the two. I don't know what the difference is that they're going to be going for with that, but they made sure to separate with that in the article.
I feel like that might mean that one could potentially be 3D and one is 2D. Because because I feel like the style, like anime, first off, I just want to start off, I was actually thinking about this earlier. What makes something an anime is not just the art style. Whenever Netflix says something is an anime, they just mean the art style is like a Japanese anime art style.
Right.
I think that Assassin's Creed would work better in that type of art style rather than like I feel like most American people, when they make shows like this, they tend to, or like not just American, but even Western in general, European American or whatever, they make them more like in an anime-ish style because that's the style that best suits some stuff that like Devil May Cry or Assassin's Creed or Castlevania, where the characters look like regular people, because you don't want it to be too realistic because because that would be hard as hell to animate. But you want it to be simple enough yet still looks like it could be a regular person. It's like Young Justice. The style of Young Justice is a bit like anime-ish. Like if that's what they mean, like by cartoon they mean something like Young Justice, where it's like not necessarily 100% on the anime side, but somewhat in between, like American animated series and anime. That's probably what they mean. But either way, it's kind of weird.
I am just interested to see what they do, and I'm excited because I love Assassin's Creed. So,
yeah.
But continuing with the Netflix adaptation of video games, Castlevania Season 4 is dropping.
Wait, when?
I don't know when.
Oh, I was about to say, I thought they like announced the date or something. I was gonna say, wait, what?
No. They're also doing Resident Evil, but not just as were they doing it as a live action movie as well? Yes, we talked about that.
They're doing a live action TV series about Wesker's children. And they're also doing an animated series about Claire.
That's what I was going to talk about.
The Claire and Leon one is called, I can't remember. We talked about it in the last episode.
We did. I don't remember what it was called.
I'll look it up. But speaking of Resident Evil, the Resident Evil movies are also getting a reboot.
Oh, it's Infinite Darkness. I'm sorry, this is in my notes. Sorry.
The Resident Evil movies are also getting a reboot. I'm gonna go over the cast list again. So Hannah John Kamen is playing Jill Valentine. She most notably recently played Ghost in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Tom Hopper who plays number 1 in what is that show called? Umbrella Academy. Is Albert Wesker, which is, we'll get back to that. That's weird. Robbie Amell, who is Steve Amell from Arrow. His cousin is playing Chris Redfield. Neil McDonough, who is also on Arrow, who played Damien Dark, is playing William Birkin. And Ava Jogia from Victorious is playing Leon S. Kennedy. I skipped one because I have to look up something she's been in because I've never seen anything she's been in. But Kaya, I'm going to try to pronounce his last name, Scott Delaria is playing Claire. And she looks just like Claire. I feel like out of all of the people chosen for this, she's the person who looks the most like the character that she's playing. She's
lagging really bad.
Oh, sorry. She was in Maze Runner, and she was in Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. So that's the cast. And in terms of story, the director and producer and one of the producers said they wanted to recreate the first 2 games. So essentially, from what I'm hearing, the first movie is going to be like their first 2 games combined. It's going to take place during the Spencer Mansion, excuse me, the Spencer Mansion incident, as well as Raccoon City at RPD, the Raccoon City Police Department with Claire and Leon. What I'm thinking, it's also supposed to take place in 98. So what I'm thinking is that they're going to do like a dual story. One part of the story is going to be Wesker, Claire, and not Claire, Wesker, Jill, and Chris in the Spencer Mansion doing that thing from the very first Resident Evil game. And while Claire, Leon, and all the other characters that are there are going to be in RPD and in Raccoon City specifically. I think that's what they're going to do, and then at some point they're going to collide. Which that sounds interesting. I'm not sure if I would have preferred if they. I think I would have preferred if they did them individually, but I'm not mad at them combining 1 and 2. I'm not that mad at it. As long as they do it right, I think it'll be fine. It's just a matter of them actually doing it right. Because the first movie, which came out in 2003, was super action oriented, and then every movie followed suit. The action looked cool, but that's not what we wanted. It's Resident Evil, so of course we wanted there to be a bit of action, but we also wanted it to be a horror movie. We wanted the zombies to seem dangerous and scary, more so than we wanted the characters to be badass. The characters could still be badass while the zombies are still seen as a threat that like aren't to be messed with, and if you get overrun, you're dead if you're one person. With Nemesis and Mr. X are supposed to be scary in those movies. They were powerful, but they seemed more like a Dragon Ball Z villain than they did a horror movie villain, where they basically just got into fistfights and were like the stronger villain that the characters need to go and power up and come back to defeat. That's what the what they call tyrants. That's what the tyrants felt like in the original Resident Evil film franchise with is her name Mila Jovovich? I know her last name is Jovovich, and her husband.
I have no idea what her name is.
Yeah, I think it's Mila Jovovich, and her husband. He directed it. He was also directing the Monster Hunter movie, of which he's also starring in because he wants her to star in every movie he works on. The Monster Hunter movie also looks weird in comparison to. I mean, it could end up being good, but it's another case of I feel like when an American director is given the reins of a Japanese story, a Japanese written story, they completely Americanize it. And they make it super militaristic and action heavy every single time. They did it with Resident Evil, and seemingly literally the same director and main actress did it with Resident Evil, and seemingly they're doing the same thing with Monster Hunter World, where they're making it militaristic. It starts off with Mila Jovovich and T.I.'s in it too, which is weird. And like a platoon of soldiers in a Hummer, like driving through a desert, and then they go through like a portal and get teleported. Well, they get chased by a monster first, then go through a portal and get teleported to the Monster Hunter world. And now they're in a world where they need like giant swords to fight monsters. Where I would have preferred if they started there and that it was literally about people who hunt monsters. And all you had to do was give the Monster Hunter motivation, give them a reason for hunting monsters that is interesting and compelling and makes you like the character. That's all you need to do. And then, bring in all the cool and most popular monsters from the franchise and have the character fight it. That's all you needed. But no, for some reason they wanted to militarize it, which is something that they do with Americans who make movies based off Japanese franchises do all the time, and I hate it. The one movie that it would work for is Metal Gear, because that game is literally about the military.
Right. Well,
has there been a Splinter Cell movie? I feel like Splinter Cell would also make great.
Well, when I was going over adaptations, it's funny that you mentioned Splinter Cell, because continuing on this list of Netflix adaptations, Cyberpunk Edgerunner is getting an anime.
Yeah.
Splinter Cell.
I'm excited for that one.
Is getting an adaptation.
The studio working on that is a good studio. On the Cyberpunk.
They are.
They are an amazing studio. I didn't even plan on talking about this, but I'm gonna look up the studio real quick that's working on animation. You can go ahead and keep talking, but yeah.
Okay. The Division is getting a Netflix adaptation. Devil May Cry is getting a Netflix adaptation. Final Fantasy is getting a Netflix adaptation,
Okay.
and possibly the strangest of all of these, Cuphead is getting a show on Netflix.
Oh no, that's not the strangest one. The Cuphead. Have you seen like the trailer?
I didn't know there was a trailer.
Yeah. The Cuphead is literally based off of like 1930s cartoons. It's based off
Yeah.
like Mickey Mouse and Betty Boop and all of those cartoons. And out of all of those, everything you just named, that's the one that makes the most sense. And it looks like it's going to be really good, and I'm excited for it. But yeah, Studio Trigger is working on the Cyberpunk anime, and I am excited because Studio Trigger, they did the anime that I watched them do. I think it might have been the only one, and I need to rewatch it. Was Kill la Kill, and I have to rewatch it to speak on the story. The story's it's very perverted. I'm gonna be honest, but like a lot of anime can be. But the fights, phenomenal. I'm excited. I can imagine this Studio Trigger doing a really good job with Cyberpunk 2077. Also, based on the poster that they showed when they first announced that Studio Trigger was working on the anime, it looked really good, and it also reminded me of Akira. And I actually think that they said that they were taking inspiration from Akira. So seems like it's gonna be good. You said Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy.
I just said Final Fantasy.
We also talked about that last episode. How I said I want there to be 3D animated Final Fantasy series. It could be 2D animated as well, but there are already 3D animated Final Fantasy series. So I figured they could stick to that trend because it actually looks good 3D animated, despite that being like a
Yeah, because all the Final Fantasy movies out right now are all garbage. So
yeah, and the game stories are good, and like I said, any story could be made good if you give it to a good writer and they just make it good. They just change things. Like every story has good elements, but not every writer knows how to put it together in a way that makes it interesting. We're gonna talk about our favorite horror movies and what we like about them. I talked about Halloween at length. You guys know that, but I don't need to talk about Halloween anymore. I'll actually let you go first because I already talked about my first one.
This is one of my favorite movies ever. It doesn't count as a horror movie. I don't know why people in the 70s were ever scared by this movie. My mother made me watch it to keep me out of the ocean, and it didn't scare me one bit, but I did enjoy it.
I know what it is.
I love Jaws. Jaws is amazing. The first one specifically, it got worse after every single sequel that they try to put out.
Like most movies.
Oh yeah, no, but the thing is, the dip in quality for Jaws is so exponential. Like Jaws 2 wasn't bad. It wasn't nearly as good as the first one, but it wasn't bad. Jaws 3 looks like the parody to a horror movie. Like, I'm not even joking. It's supposed to be 3D.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It was also 3D. It was like one of the first.
Yeah. It was supposed to be 3D, so they would have sharks, like, not even CG'd. I'm trying to think of, like, the correct word for it. But they would be, like, very clearly out of place. And you would basically just, like, there would be, like, a tube underwater, and you'd see a shark very clearly out of place, looking like...
Yeah. It was.
And then eat the tube. It was so dumb. It was so bad. And then Jaws 4, while not as bad as Jaws 3, like Jaws 3, like I said, looked like a horror movie parody, and it wasn't trying to be, which made it really bad. Like, if it was trying to lean into the campiness and the stupidness of it, it wouldn't be as bad. It wasn't trying to be. It was trying to be a very serious movie and failed on all fronts. Jaws 4, while not as bad as Jaws 3, was still not very good. Like, at all.
What do you like so much about the first Jaws?
I feel like the more I talk about my favorite horror movies, the more it's just like they're all creature related. But like,
I want to talk about once you're finished.
I like horror monsters. I like the creatures, the monsters, and I don't know what the appeal is. I really don't. Like, I think like over the summer I did spend quite a bit of time looking at like creepy like artist renditions of like Godzilla, where like half of him would be like covered in like smoke or like clouds or something like that, so you can only see like it's almost like what you can't see of the creature is scarier than what you can. And for some reason I really like that aspect. I don't know why. I don't know what it is.
I know what it is. Well,
Well, I'm glad you do.
for the can't see part, for me, I wanted to mention that for me, what I like suspense and like that feeling of unease in between jump scares. Like I like that more so than I do the jump scare itself. There's this quote, I don't remember who said it, but they basically said that jump scaring someone to get them to be afraid is the equivalent of tickling someone so that they could laugh. Like
Right.
that's just a natural reaction that's gonna happen most of the time if you just jump scare someone, just like you tickle someone. But to actually build suspense and make someone feel afraid that something's about to happen, that's harder to do, and that's like true fear, and that's what I like. And to relate that to what you were saying, it's more of the I don't know, it's just like the idea of not knowing what it is just makes you excited, and you want to see what it is, but at the same time you don't, because you want to hold on to that feeling. Just like you don't like I don't want the jump scare, but I do at the same time. But like I want to hold on to this feeling in between where I feel tense, like I'm playing a video game and I'm tense. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm walking through this dark hallway with this flashlight that's barely doing anything, and I know something's about to happen, but I don't know when. And that's what it is.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of more horror movies.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when it comes to like monsters, I like what I like about monsters is I like cool looking monsters. It's why I like Aliens so much. I think the Xenomorphs, I like their design a lot. They look really cool. And the first two Alien movies are two of my favorite horror movies. I'm not sure which one I like more. I watched Aliens, the second movie, on its anniversary like a month or two ago. And last Saturday I watched Alien. And Alien, both of them hold up really well. They're both amazing movies. And they're an example of that suspense that I like so much. And I like when, the monster or the killer stalks their prey, and it keeps you on your toes because you don't necessarily know what's going to happen.
Right.
And like I said, for me, it's the design. I like when they look interesting. And also when they, like, what makes, like, they don't always have to be, I'm trying to find a way to explain this. It's like Pennywise. He's a movie monster, except that his, like, powers, I guess, for lack of a better term, is just like, he's basically immortal. He's like a god of fear.
He's omnipotent. He's literally a god.
Yeah, he is. And his arch nemesis is a giant turtle, but that's besides the point. His true form is giant floating orange lights. Again, besides the point. he like the monster doesn't always necessarily have to be like the alien where they're just like a physical threat. They could be like Pennywise where they're like a mental threat. But I do prefer physical threats.
I'm trying to think of more horror movies. I don't like horror movies as much. I do like horror movies. I generally prefer slashers as far as horror movies go, just because I don't get scared with horror movies, and a lot of the time they wind up like underwhelming to me. But slashers, even though I won't get scared with them, they're always more fun.
They're always entertaining because, like I said, as weird as it is, you're there for the kills. You want to see people die. That's like, it sounds insane, but
it does. But it's
people die, and that's like the point.
Right. Exactly.
That's why I love slashers. Speaking of something that leans into the campiness, like Jaws, or like you said, Jaws 3D tried to do, the Evil Dead series. I watched the anniversary of the first one was a couple weeks ago, and so I watched the first Evil Dead. But as soon as I finished the first Evil Dead, I immediately wanted to watch the second one. The first one is on Netflix. The second one is on Hulu. I couldn't find a third one anywhere without having to pay extra for it, so I didn't watch it. But the second one more so than the first one. They lean super into campiness, so much so that the TV show that's a sequel to the movies is 100% just a comedy because they know how goofy it is. It's also really good. The first season, at least. The second season started to dip out for me, so I stopped watching it. But the first season was good enough for me, and I didn't need to continue series anymore. Essentially, a dude. It's just still your stereotypical. You got the smart dude, jock, like the cheerleader thing like that, and the smart person. They all go to this cabin in the woods, and they get attacked by demons that are brought that are like souls brought back from hell by the Necronomicon, Ex Mortis, the Book of the Dead. So he basically, all his friends die, and he has to try and survive. And they don't immediately die, but they systematically get killed and possessed by the monster, and it's him trying to survive. And the second movie is weird because it retcons a lot of what happens in the first movie. Because the end of the first movie is the sun comes up, they can't be out in the sunlight. So the sun comes up, he's like, finally, I can leave. He goes to leave, and then, like, this entity, they never show what it looks like. They always, it's just first person view of whenever it chases the person, and it possesses them. They never show what it looks like. And it's going through from behind the house, through the back door, through the house, out the front door, and it grabs Ash, which is the name of the main character. And then that's it. That's the end of the first movie. The second movie picks up right after that, except that instead of picking up from right there, they essentially do a short, 7-minute, what is it called? Like a 7-minute catch up of the first movie, except they erase half the characters that were in the first movie. And it's literally just him and his girlfriend, who his girlfriend was recasted. And instead of it being like him and all of his sister and 2 other friends and his girlfriend, it was just him and his girlfriend. His girlfriend turns into a deadite, as they're called. He kills her. The movie, the sun comes up again. He gets possessed, and then the movie starts. And in this movie, naturally, more people come to the cabin in the second movie. And this one is way more campy than the first one. There's this really famous scene where he's in the room, and like objects in the room start laughing. It starts with a taxidermied deer head on the wall starts laughing. And then the lamp literally doubles over, like when someone holds their stomach when they laugh so hard, and the lamp starts laughing. And then everything in the room starts laughing, and then he starts laughing. He's just going insane. And the 2 best parts of the movie, I think, he fights his own hand because his hand gets possessed. So he cuts it off, and he has to fight his own hand. It's a fantastic scene. And then since he lost a hand, he takes apart a chainsaw and rebuilds it into like a hand, so he could hold the chainsaw on his hand. And he like connects the cord to like a piece on his chest, so when he like does this and pulls his arm down, it starts the chainsaw. And then he has a shotgun that he saws off the double barrel shotgun. And that movie is fantastically campy, and I love every bit of it. It's a great movie series. It started off horror, and then it just went super campy, but while still maintaining a bit of that horror. Like you said, I'm not that big into like scary horror movies. I'm into like the slashers, and this wasn't a slasher; it was more spiritual. But it was just pure entertainment, and it wasn't really great.
I wish that there were more scary horror movies, because
for me,
there aren't a lot.
I like to save that scary for video games, because it's easier for me to be scared when I'm the one controlling it. Like,
the more scared I get, or at least unnerved, because there are even a few books that will leave me unnerved. I typically enjoy horror games and horror books more than I enjoy horror movies. I just don't get scared or unnerved by them, like, half the time.
Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure I talked about it before, but Resident Evil 2, I'd watched plenty of people play it before, but then I finally played it, and it was way scarier than I thought it was going to be. At the very beginning. Halfway through, it honestly stops being scary, but that first half is you're going through these dark hallways. There are zombies everywhere. The flashlight barely lights up anything, and you're just trying to get through and unlock all of these puzzles. While at some point, you also have to run away from this big buff tyrant. Speaking of video games and Resident Evil, we're going to start talking about some horror video games more. I'm going to start off with some news from Little Nightmares 2, which is a lot scarier than the first one. The first one wasn't even really scary. It was a bit
atmospheric.
It wasn't even that atmospherically creepy. It was just scary. It just had creepy themes of like basically cannibalism and children being abducted and like by a bunch of fat people. And then like this evil lady is the one kept kidnapping those kids, and it wasn't really that scary, but it was cool and interesting and fun. The second one looks like it's gonna be trying to make you scared. It's gonna try to make you jump, and just in the short gameplay demo that was released recently, it does it. Like the first video I watched you actually. Here's a perfect reason for you to watch it. First off, watch Burleezy play Little Nightmares 1. Secondly,
I've seen it already.
He played the demo. Have you seen it? Him play the demo?
Yeah, I've seen him play it, yeah. Perfect. That's what I was saying. I've seen him play it, yeah.
He starts
Burleezy super fan over here.
Yeah. He was the first one I watched play it, because I was just waiting for somebody who I knew and actually liked to play it before I watched playing it. So when I finally watched him play it, he started off with one of the jump scares, and it was like he was walking to a mannequin in a wheelchair, and it like got up, and it scared the heck out of me. But that whole mannequin sequence is fantastic. Basically, the mannequins work like boos do in Mario, where when you're looking at them, the boos stop moving. But in this one, when you shine a flashlight at the mannequin, they stop moving. But
so Weeping Angels from Doctor Who, basically.
I don't know anything about Doctor Who, so I don't get that reference. But trust me, I don't care about it either. But it's definitely way too much to get into. Yeah.
Luna doesn't know about Weeping Angels and Doctor Who. Here we are talking about horror, and you don't know. Oh my god. Okay.
I just don't care about Doctor Who. I had a friend who was really into Doctor Who. He was Little Nightmares. You got me confused. Like I said, it's way scarier. From the trailers, it looks like there's a Slender Man type character. There's this dude who's basically just like a redneck with a shotgun that chases the two main characters
the
around.
Scariest monster of all time.
Yeah, it was just a dude with a shotgun chasing them. One of them is like a teacher who's like, her neck like extends on some creepy stuff. And then at the end of the gameplay demo, it was like this fat dude hanging on the ceiling with his neck like cricked. And it was weird. But moving on from that, I want to talk about Mortal Kombat 11 DLC. So the most recent DLC was Rain, Rambo, and Melina. But
if I get back into the game, said main. Rambo's gonna be my new main. So
yeah, Rambo looks good. But more traditionally they tend to do horror like characters as their DLC. I want them to keep doing that, by the way. I want them to bring back Freddy. At some point, Freddy...
I think that was...
Because...
Oh, good.
At one point, Freddy needs to come back because he was a great character. He was a great addition to the roster. And I honestly prefer their more, not just horror, but the super violent, like, characters that they introduced. Like, let me think of someone. My brain... forgot. Oh, I was thinking of characters that they haven't even added, like characters that I would want them to add, basically. One of them is Doomslayer. He would be perfect for Mortal Kombat.
Doomslayer would be awesome.
Doomslayer literally just, that whole, like, Doom as a franchise, I love it. It's
same.
Murdering demons as violently as possible, and I'm a psychopath when it comes to video games. I like to murder things in video games as violently as possible. It's why I like hack and slash games. It's why I like Doom. And, Doomslayer is perfect. Ash from The Evil Dead actually was rumored forever to be a guest character for Mortal Kombat 11, and I hope eventually he still is a guest character in Mortal Kombat game. Because I was just
from everything I've heard, it's not going to happen. For everything I've heard about.
One day, I have hope it'll happen one day. But three other ones that I think would be cool is Judge Dredd, Bloodshot, and The Mask. The Mask would be...
None of those are horror characters, though.
I just said they don't have to be horror characters.
No, see, I didn't catch that. All I heard was, like, horror characters. I was like, those aren't horror characters.
Super violent characters. That's what I said. The Mask would be perfect, and it would confuse so many people who don't know how actually violent The Mask is in the comics. For all the people who are using that goofy Jim Carrey mask, and if they saw him in that video game doing all the horrible stuff that he does in the comics, they would be so confused and probably never want to watch that movie again because every time they watch it, they'll be thinking about how horrible the mask actually is as a person. Not a character. He's a great character, but as a person, he's just horrible. As a like God possessing a person, really.
I want to see, as far as hyper violent characters go, although he's not that hyper violent, honestly, but it's just like he's a perfect like counterpart to Batman, but like not the Joker because he's not like a DC character. I would love to see Grendel. I don't know if you know who Grendel is, but like think like Batman with a worse childhood if he was a mastermind criminal and didn't care about killing people.
So he's like is he like Batman if he was poor?
No, because Grendel's not poor. He's a criminal mastermind. Look up Grendel. Grendell.
Okay.
And then the Grendel series like jumps around because the first Grendel died. I think like basically every single Grendel dies at some point and is like picked up by another person. Until you get to like Grendel Prime. Grendel Prime is just an android robot person from the future, like super far into the future.
It looks
but like, yeah, Grendel's dope. Grendel's really cool.
looks like Spawn.
He and Batman had a crossover back when like Batman was having crossovers with everybody and their grandmother in the 90s. They had a crossover.
Yeah, I just clicked on the cover for the crossover.
Yeah, Batman beat both Grendels like super bad. It's very funny. But
seeing this cover for Batman and Grendel, this maybe want the Bruce Timm universe back so bad. I want it back so bad.
Well, I mean, they're still making comics for it, so
I want it animated. I want
I can see that.
Like the name of the comic series, the most recent Batman comic series, is perfect for a name for a new Batman animated series. But The Adventures Continue is a perfect name for like the next Batman animated series. It could be called Batman the Animated Series, The Adventures Continue. It would be perfect.
Yeah. No, also,
like I said before, I would want a Green Arrow and Black Canary series.
I would want a Green Arrow Black Canary series. I just want a like actual comic accurate Green Arrow Black Canary series. Like I like Arrow a lot, but I want something like comic accurate.
We'll see. Justice League Unlimited was more comic accurate to Arrow.
Justice League Unlimited was very comic accurate.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about within that universe. Like that Bruce.
I wouldn't want it in that universe.
I love that.
I would not want it in that universe.
I love that
at all. I hate that universe with a fiery passion.
Wait, what? Why do you hate
it? They ruins. Batman and Harley Quinn, Batman Beyond comics.
No. Get that out of my face. I don't care about the comics. I don't care about Batman and Harley Quinn. That could die in a fire. I'm talking about the TV shows. I'm sorry, I'm moving my camera around.
I also was not a big fan of Batman Beyond, but I think you already know I don't like Batman Beyond that much. Like anyway, as like a character, like I don't like Terry McGinnis as a character.
I know
like anyway, so.
What was the name of the second Batman animated series with Tim Drake?
The New Batman Adventures.
The New Batman Adventures is really good. Like the first one was really good, but like the second one is also the entire series is really good, both combined. But just it starts. It's hard for me to even think about which one is better because the more I think about it, the more I'm like they're both amazing. The designs.
I think it takes a serious dip in quality when Barbara Gordon starts thirsting after Bruce Wayne.
That is the worst part of, for me personally, the worst part of that universe has always been the fact that they made Barbara and Bruce love interests, despite the fact she in that universe is young as hell.
Yeah, she's literally Dick Grayson's age.
Yeah, it's like much younger than Bruce. Not only is she also Dick Grayson's age, it's literally a plot line about him getting upset at the fact, like getting upset with her, so she like leaves him for Bruce. It's so weird. I hate it. I hate it so much. That part was weird, and I hated it. And I want them, if they were ever to bring back the Bruce Timm universe, I would want them to delete that and Batman and Harley Quinn from existence. I would want them to.
I would too.
I would want them to retcon that.
I just wouldn't want Bruce Timm to touch the universe because
I don't want him to touch it. I just want it. Like other writers could work on it. I just want that specific universe.
And that's the thing, is that Bruce Timm gets a lot of recognition, or gets like a lot of credit for it. Most of what people loved about that universe, and like a lot of like the most memorable episodes and like people's favorite stuff, wasn't even Bruce Timm. It was like Paul Dini and other people like that. Bruce Timm really did not touch those for the most part.
Want to know who was one person that made that universe amazing? Hold up, I'm looking up his name right now.
Okay.
But this is something I'm going to touch on way more in a future episode. But one of the founders of Milestone Comics, Dwayne McDuffie, who created Static Shock, he wrote a lot of episodes for the Justice League animated series and Justice League Unlimited. And he also wrote not majority, because he obviously other people worked on the show, but he wrote, of course, for the character he created, Static. And he's the reason why Icon and her life, I can't remember her name, showed up in Young Justice, because he also wrote for Young Justice. He passed away. He passed away, I think, in 2011.
Yeah.
He also was a big contributor to that universe. That Bruce Timm started it, but it doesn't have to. It's like Harry Potter. It doesn't have to die with him. Like that universe could still live without Bruce Timm.
I feel like every time we have a discussion about something that we don't like the creators or like what the creators do with it, it always goes back to Harry Potter.
Oh, he also wrote on Ben 10.
Oh, that's cool. Wait, which one? The original show?
Yeah, the original.
Okay. Remind me to rewatch that, because I did like. I really like the.
I currently have HBO Max. I might rewatch Ben 10 Alien Force, because that's my favorite. I like Alien Force a lot. So, I lost track because we started to get into a really good conversation. That conversation was fantastic. We were about
This is what happens off camera. If in case you ever wonder, this is always what happens off camera.
We only have 2 more things to talk about, and we kind of completely digressed because we completely diverged because we were talking about like survival horror video games and talking about something else. But I want to talk about, like, there are 3 types of horror games recently that are like the most popular. There's like survival horror multiplayer games like Friday the 13th and Dead by Daylight, where there's one killer chasing a bunch of people that have to try and escape. And then there's the more action-oriented ones like The Evil Within, the Resident Evil. And then the ones that are run, hide, and die. There is no fighting there. I like those games. But
my favorites.
I prefer the action ones because I like the ability to fight back. But I like my ability to fight back to be very limited. That way it's still scary. Because when you can barely fight back, it makes it all better when you have limited resources. I think the Evil Within kind of takes, because it's one of the people who worked on the Evil Within, a lot of people I think actually worked on the Resident Evil franchise, and what they add to the Evil Within that Resident Evil doesn't have is stealth. There's an option for you to sneak by these monsters, which I think is a big part of most horror games is stealth, especially the ones that are like run, hide, and die, like Outlast. They want you to be stealthy so that you don't get caught.
Right.
And also, what's that alien game? Alien
Isolation.
Alien Isolation. I also have a really good idea for a alien game along the lines of like Friday the 13th and Dead by Daylight, where one person plays as the alien and is chasing around the crew, and the crew has to try and escape. And less than 3 people are left. Like everybody else is killed. There's only 3 people left. They can then escape in like an escape pod, which is basically what happens in the first movie. 4 people can't escape in an escape pod because it's not enough room, but 3 people can. So once there's 3 people left, they can try to escape an escape pod and blow up the ship and escape the alien. I think that would be really cool. And I feel like the Alien franchise in terms of video games hasn't been getting used as much as it should.
They either have really bad games or really good games, and they've only had like 2 really good games. One of them was a SOTS. I don't remember the name of it. I had like an emulator on my old DSi XL that had the game on it, and it was so much fun. I loved that game. And then the cartridge that had the emulator in it stopped working, and I was so upset because it was like my favorite game ever for a long time. And that stopped working. I was really sad. But then there was also Alien Isolation. Other than that, not even gonna lie, most Alien games have been trash to my knowledge. Like everyone I've played has been god awful.
Yeah, I think the best thing they done with the character, well, just the xenomorphs, could have put the xenomorph into combat and like combine it with Baraka, which was cool. Alien versus Predator. There was an Alien versus Predator game before. There should be another one because it was actually a cool game. It's a really old game now. It was on like the original Xbox, but it was cool. You could choose to play as either the Predator or the Alien or the Marines and fight against them, or play as the Alien or the Predator and hunt the people. And there's Predator hunting grounds, but that game's
Yeah, I was gonna say I like. There's so many good ways for like a Predator game to happen, but Predator Hunting Ground, I admire what the studio tried to do, but
I think potentially they could make it better over the years, but right now it's all right. It's a good starting.
It literally just feels like Friday the 13th with the daytime and like the survivors have guns. That's what it feels like to me. It's just like,
yeah, it does.
Nothing new, nothing exciting.
There was a DLC in Ghost Recon. I forget which one. The one before the last one, where the Predator was like in the game, and like you as like a soldier could fight against the Predator, and he was. I don't know if he was always invisible, but he was invisible, and you would go through and you would hear that clicking sound that the Predator makes, which by the way sounds exactly like the sound that Predator Platypus makes. But you go into this forest and the Predator just comes down and starts hunting people. And it's great.
That's cool. I did not know that was a thing.
And that's exactly what Predator Hunting Ground feels like. It feels like it's just Ghost Recon with the Predator in it. And now I'm thinking about
it doesn't feel like it's anything new.
Yeah, I'm imagining Splinter Cell, but you play as the Predator.
That's basically what Splinter Cell is. Honestly, you're just a low tech Predator.
You're just a Predator without the plasma cannon and actually, I mean, he has some type of vision, but he doesn't have the same.
He also can't turn it. There's like so many different noises going on in my apartment building tonight, and I don't know why.
I thought it was happening around here, like in my neighborhood, when I heard it.
Oh man.
But very last thing we're going to talk about are Halloween costumes, because Halloween. I'm gonna cut that out. I still skipped over the video games again. I don't know why I keep doing this.
We got like one video every time we try to talk about it. We get like one video game in and just divulge.
Yeah. But my favorite type are the action-oriented ones. Resident Evil Within. Actually, you know what? I think we can move on because I think I talked enough about it.
Yeah.
I think I talked enough about it. We're gonna move on. I'm gonna get all of that out. We're gonna move on to the very last thing we're gonna talk about, which is Halloween costumes. Halloween is on Saturday. I'm not dressing up. I don't usually dress up. Anyway, but one day I think I will because I want to dress up like JoJo Bizarre Adventure characters because they have fantastic character designs, and I want to be Joseph Joestar. But I got to lose some weight. I got to get buff, and I got to wear a crop top. It's gonna be great. I'm telling you, it's gonna be great. But anyway. We're basically going to talk about if we had unlimited amount of money to make any type of costume and have whatever props we want, like replicas of something, series that we like, what would it be? You can start. I'm sure you have plenty.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to imagine. Oh my God. I'm sorry. No, that's just funny to think about. I'm sorry. That's not a costume I think I've heard many people say they want to do. Is JoJo. It's not. No, oh my God, I'm just trying to imagine how that would look in real life. This is hilarious. I'm sorry. It's like, that's so funny. What costumes do I want to do in real life? Like with an unlimited budget. I would love to do
$1 million. I sounds like you could spend $1 million on a costume like they did that Shazam costume.
Okay. Can it be like multiple costumes with this 1 million budget?
No, the budget is unlimited. I'm just saying whatever. You can name as many as you want.
Okay. I would do comic accurate Red Hood. I'm being Red Hood for this Halloween. I'm supposed to be playing just like a bunch of horror video games with some friends, but I love Halloween. At least I used to. I'm trying to find more love for the holiday again. So like I'm like, why not? I'll get into the spirit of it. So I'm going Red Hood this year. My costume's not looking great. It's not terrible, I don't think. We'll find out on Halloween when I put everything, and like everything's like finally all together. But I would like a comic accurate Red Hood costume. I would love to be the Signal, Duke Thomas from DC Comics. I don't know if any of our viewers knows what that is. Perfect time for you to test your editing skills, Deshaun. I'm just saying. You know, I'm just throwing out names. These people don't know they are. This is perfect time, just like bam, 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 bam. You know.
I think I can. I'll try.
See if you can put them in my hand.
Okay.
What else would I want to be? I'd love to do a Black Panther costume.
That's definitely one of mine.
And then Batman from DC Future State, because like
the one with the full face mask and the yellow symbol. Yeah, that one looks.
Yeah, the Luke Fox one. That that looks amazing. That's an amazing costume right there.
I didn't know that was Luke. I didn't know that was Luke Fox.
Oh yeah, it was Luke Fox. Well, at least it's rumored to be. And this is basically what 5G has turned into.
Next episode, so there's no reason to go into
next episode?
Yeah.
So next episode won't be Star Wars? Okay. All right. The Star Wars episode is coming, we promise. So we'll talk about it next episode. But this is basically what 5G turned into, is basically Future State. So I'm assuming it's Luke Fox. There was a fingerless glove, or there was a different version of the suit that had like fingerless gloves. His hand was like a black person's hand, so I'm 75% sure that was Luke Fox. Plus, like the description they gave for Batman, the Batman Future State title is like it's basically implying it's Luke Fox.
I wanted to mention how Black Panther's original suit looked like, and his gloves and his like shoes make it look like he's wearing dress socks.
Yeah, I was gonna say his original costume is like broke.
I would literally. That's the design I would want. The one with like the lines going down the gloves and the boots. I would actually want. That's the design I would want to have on my costume.
I haven't designed a Black Panther costume, so I don't know what I would want.
For the mask, I would want it to be like for the life of me, can never remember the name of the author, but the most recent, like I think it was like the 2014 Black Panther run. The way that mask looks.
I'm trying to remember it.
This might be a good chance for me to use my editing skills and put up a picture of it from here. But
was it the Nation Under Our Feet run? The Ta-Nehisi Coates?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the cover of the very first volume of his run, the way that mask looks, that's the way I want the mask to look. Like how on the face, it shows like the muscles like scrunching together to make him look like mad. Along with the ears are like flatter rather than like pointed up, like they are like the Marvel films. That's how I want the costume to be. For me, a lot of them are gonna be black superheroes.
Which was basically everything I just named except for Red Hood.
Static Shock, Miles Morales, Wally West, but I wouldn't want the original costume, the one with the giant red lightning bolt. That's my favorite. Okay. That's my favorite. Like Kid Flash costume, the original Wally West's costume. I always like that giant red lightning bolt that's on his chest rather than it being in a circle. I just like it being just that giant red lightning bolt on the yellow. I also prefer the inverse colors of the mostly yellow with like red gloves and boots and because I have a high top. Right now it's an afro, but I usually have a high top. It would make sense for me to have like the half mask with my hair like popping up the top. So also, I forgot, you should also name some like prop replicas of even real replicas, like functioning replicas.
Functioning replicas?
Not necessarily functioning, not like an Iron Man suit, but like
no, okay. I think I got it. I think I go
like actual swords, stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay. I would want the Hacksmith's proto lightsaber, the proto saber, the one that's like basically a real lightsaber. I would want that. I don't know if that counts because that's slightly cheating. But that's what I would want. Also, a Captain America shield, as long as it's metal. I'm not expecting it to be bulletproof. If it was
Not
like
but
actually bullet.
trying to stop a robbery with a shield.
Yeah, no. I'm not like no. I just want like an actual like Captain America shield. I can hang up on my wall. When I move, which hopefully I will soon. You guys should be able to see like some cool stuff in the background of my room. But and who knows? Maybe a Captain America shield will be one of them. One can only hope.
For me, I always have in my mind this kind of like shrine to like my favorite games, where in the middle is Uncharted, and I have the decipher or decoder, I think it is the decoder from Uncharted 3.
Okay.
I already have a replica of the ring on a necklace. Naturally,
I wanted to order that on Netflix, or not on Netflix, on Amazon.
you're gonna order it on Netflix, but I have a replica of that already. The thing is, the band was leather and it got wet and it broke, so I need a new chain. So I still have the ring, so I just need a chain for the ring. But I want a decoder that the ring could fit in like it does in the game, and I want the Perba dagger from Uncharted 2. I basically just want like one of the key items from each game, and like to put them on the wall in like a glass case, and like just below them, like the PS3 versions of the first 3 games, and obviously Uncharted 4, and the Uncharted collection, like with this disc in them, with the items above them, and then I would want a replica of the Blades of Chaos, and the swords from Devil May Cry I would want are Red Queen, the second version from Devil May Cry 5, the Devil Sword Dante, which is a dope-looking sword, Rebellion, and Yamato. And also probably a replica of Ebony and Ivory, Dante's pistols.
Okay. I would have to add to my list.
I would also want to costume Nero. I should mention that. Because Nero's costume is basically this really cool like jacket that I looked up to see what it was. There are replicas of it that are like expensive as I don't know what. But I really want them because that jacket looks cool. But go ahead, sorry.
Oh, you're good. I'm trying to. I just had it in my head, and then give me a sec. I'd want a batarang. I really want a batarang, and what else would I want? Honestly, at this point, I'm just kind of like thinking of things I'm going to put up in my room.
I would want to cosplay Two Face.
Really? That's an interesting one.
I think we talked about it before. There's artwork of Alex Ross did artwork of Two Face, what he would look like, and if he was in the '60s Batman TV show with Adam West.
I don't think you did.
Well, have you seen it? Look up not Adam West. Look up Alex Ross. Hold up. Let me look it up the way I looked it up, and then I'll tell you what to look up to make sure that the name comes out. Look up Alex Ross Two Face. Yeah, you could just look up Alex Ross Two Face and it'll pop up. It's like him sitting on a white chair with Batman and Robin behind him.
Okay, give me a sec. For some reason, that said Amex Ross instead of Alex Ross. I don't remember pressing an M. Oh, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah, I would want that suit with like the half pink
I have seen this before. I've only seen this like once, but I've seen it before.
Like with the half pink and the half pink suit with like this like flowery pattern on it. It looks really cool. That suit itself just looks cool. I would just want that pink suit. But
okay,
a half pink suit with the orange shirt on it that's half white and the black suit on the other side with half my face green and like kind of disfigured and half of my hair dyed white. I would want to do Two-Face.
That'd be very interesting to see. If you ever do it, I have to see it.
Yeah. Two-Face would be interesting. But do you have anything else?
I will probably come up with something else later that will be completely off stream. So for now, no.
Well, with that, we're gonna end this podcast. Of course, again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel on our videos, and make sure you click the notification bell next to the subscribe button, and turn on post notifications so you're notified whenever we post a video. Next week, we'll be posting clips from this very episode, so make sure you look out for those if you want to rewatch specific parts of this episode. Because if you get to this point, you've already watched the entire episode, so telling you about the clips is weird. But
Congratulations!
Yeah. Thank you for watching the whole thing. I only know like 2 people, probably 1 person that watches every single episode all the way through. But we're growing. We're growing.
We're growing.
I'm Dijon.
I'm Amir.
Now put your hand up.
Oh, yeah. Well, Instagram of mine. There we go.
You can follow me personally on why did I forget my Instagram? You can follow me at Deshaun Mustard on Instagram. You can just type in my name, Deshaun Fortune. I'll put my name up on the screen, DESHAUN, Fortune, just Fortune, and you'll find me. One of my 3 pages. And for Amir, I'll put yours in your hand.
I'm not even gonna say. I'm just gonna see if you can put it in my hand. It's right. It should be right here. If he does it correctly, it's gonna be right here.
And you can follow our Twitter page and our Instagram at the Mustardcast. On Instagram, it's _Mustard_cast. And on Twitter, it's just the Mustardcast. See you guys.
I don't know which one you're going to put in which hand, but you got 2 of them right here.
All right.
I thought you were going to stick with the middle finger.
No, why would I do that?